Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild podcast, a podcast all about the experiences and memories that playing games with friends and families can create. I'm Peter, and with me is James and Nathan, and we're going to be talking about what we've been up to, what games we've been playing, and is James wearing pants? So let's find out, everybody.
I am not.
So what has everybody been up to for the last month or so, really?
Well, I guess I can start off. I've been playing a lot of board games at home with the family. So many games of Blockus with my wife. I believe it's one of the highest player count games I have. I think it's 140 some. Not this whole time, but I play Blockus a lot.
That is a lot of play, and I know of Blockus. I have never played Blockus.
So basically, what Blockus is it's a 2 to 4 player game, which I think only works either 2 or 4 players.
Oh, okay.
And you have 4 different colors, and they're all polynomial shapes. And what you're going to do is you have to start at one of the corners for you, and when you place your piece, it has to touch the corner, and then the next one has to touch a corner of one of your blocks, but it can't touch an edge, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to do is you're going to try to place out all these pieces on the board and try to run out. And however many you have left is how many points you take in, which points are bad. So there's like 5-piece ones, there's 4-piece ones, and they're all different shapes. The trick is you try to block the other players. Now, when you're blocking or you're placing a tile, you can actually place your tile. You still have to touch an edge of one of your pieces, but you can, or a corner of one of your pieces, but it can touch an edge of an opponent's. So you can sort of like wall them off and try to get that little area control sort of thing. And that's actually the entire game. So it's just a lot of fun, abstract game. The pieces are pretty different, so it's unique in how each game plays based on like what pieces you put down. You got to change your strategy up. And 2-player, we play 2 opposite colors or opposite sides. So I'll play like red and blue, and I'll be on opposite corners, and then I'll go once, she'll go, and then I'll go with my other color, and then she goes with her other color. It's just a lot of fun. It's been around forever.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one that I've definitely heard of, and like I can even see the box art and everything, but it's not one that's ever crossed my path in like playing. So
yeah, it's a pure strategy game, so and it's good. It's solid. It's not one I pull out all the time, but with the right group. Yeah, I wouldn't probably play it against James because I'd easily whip him. But
yeah, right. After 140 some games, I don't know. We're pretty vicious.
Like vicious?
Yeah, so you've been playing that, and what, like anything else that you've been playing?
A lot of Wingspan.
Okay.
And we also played that. We played that Wingspan beta when that was out. That was a lot of fun. But it's a lot better getting it to the table. I do like the app version when we did the beta, but just playing it with all the cards and stuff is a lot better. And you get the little tiny eggs that look like candy.
Yep.
So again, if people don't know, Wingspan is sort of like a tableau building, engine building game where you're collecting birds into different habitats. And the more birds you put in the habitat, the more things that can occur when you do one of the 3 different actions that those allow. So it's a cool game. It goes fast. It has one expansion out already and another one coming. And I believe both of you guys love that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan, and I'm really looking forward to the digital version finally dropping sometime later this summer. Like you said, playing the beta of it was pretty interesting. And I'm looking forward to that. I thought they did a really nice job with pretty much with the whole package. The art was really nice, the audio was great, and it just had the very sublime, calm feel of that game. But I'll be interested to see how that translates then getting to play the digital version with other players, because so far I've only had the chance of playing that with just the Automa rule set. So I'll be interested to play it with other people, because it's interesting getting to watch other players' tableaus be laid out as they're playing their cards, and I don't know how that's going to happen digitally. So I don't, when it cuts to the other players, when it's their turn, like, am I all of a sudden going to see their board as opposed to my own, or I just don't know how well that part's going to play out. So I'll be interested to see that.
My guess it's going to behave the same way as the Automa and you're not going to see what they're doing really.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like I'm going to lose a little something there at that point.
Right. Takes a little bit away from the game when you. And I don't like it when they have multiplayer, but they don't have like a voice in option. So I'm hoping that they'll have that too. But it'll be on Steam, so you could chat through that or Discord. But still.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is a game that won a lot of awards recently. Between Dice Tower Awards and BGG Awards, it won way more BGG Awards than it should have been even eligible for.
Yeah, that's true. I do love the game. I don't know that it should have be like listed as the best of everything, but it is definitely a really good game.
It's not like the massive Kickstarters is not going to stand out in that regard, but it's a super solid, fun game, and it's one that experienced gamer can enjoy, and somebody who's never played a game before can still enjoy.
I think it might be a little bit more difficult for someone that's never played a game, because I tried teaching it to a couple people. So it is a gateway game, but I think it might be like a second-tier gateway game. Because I think the concepts are a little bit more difficult then.
I played it recently with a person who had not played any games before. This is a person that I'd also taught them Alhambra, and they were struggling with that, but they were able to get Wingspan.
So did you teach them Alhambra first?
No, actually, we taught them Wingspan first.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is we got a couple games of Blood Rage in. I love that game.
Yeah. I am a new convert to the Blood Rage, and I am fully on board and have been loving playing it. I have played it a bunch now, by myself on the digital board game on Steam. I've played at least once with some just random people who happened to be on the game at the time in the community, and somebody had set up a table, so I played a game of 4 with them. And I'm a big fan. I'm really enjoying the strategy that goes into the game, and looking forward to even more opportunities to play it, because I've now played it at least 4 times, I think, against the AI in the digital, and each time I've really been able to use about the same strategy, because I keep getting mostly the same cards, and so I'll be interested in seeing how I play when I start playing against other people, if they take the card that I want, because so far it seems like the AI is not going after the cards that I normally want, so I just keep getting to play the same strategy again and again. So I'm getting really good at that strategy, but I'll be interested to see how well I play when all of a sudden I'm forced to play a different strategy all of a sudden than what I thought I was going to play going into it. But I'm definitely finally getting the flow of that game, and I like the mechanics a lot. I like the building up of the different stats and the randomness of the beginning of the game, not knowing exactly where each of the different realms, what they're going to have when it comes to the stats. So where do I need to go so that I can get more rage, or where am I going to have to go to get more Vikings to add to my men to the game. So since I'm still kind of newer to it and I'm just kind of rambling through it, do either of you want to talk a little bit about the actual game again, so people know what the game is?
I wanted to add something to that. As far as the digital version, it's got a decent AI, but it's not a it's not a learning AI. So whereas a player will learn from game to game how you play and watch for that, this AI will not. So there's a fair amount of metagaming. It's I know Jim loves Loki strategy, so I am not going to let him have Loki card.
I know why. I crush with the Loki strategy. Crush. It's so good.
Well, I was going to say, though, we were playing that digital version, and James and I played, and his focus real early on was well, I can't let Pete do this. And we got into the second age, and he was like, "Oh man, I think I ruined it for both of us," because I kept blocking Pete so much that we didn't really pay too much attention to the AI, and so I think you probably still ended up winning that one, I think, but it felt pretty bad there during that second age. So
yeah, it was pretty bad. I got a little combo at the end, but so you just dipped your toe in the cult of Eric Lang.
yeah, and again, so I did that, and I've played it now a bunch, and I really like it. But going into it now, I'm like, oh man, I'm really enjoying this, and I wish I had this. I don't know, had this a little bit of experience back when we were playing Ankh, because we only barely got to scratch the surface really with Ankh, playing it on the on Tabletop Simulator, and so now I just have to wait for I don't know how long for you guys to get your physical copies of Ankh so I can try that out again as well. But yeah, I can see, James, why you like him so much as a board game creator and designer, because so far I am of the same opinion. I think he's pretty fantastic. Nathan, what are your feelings? Because I can't remember.
On Ankh, oh yeah, well I love Eric Lang in general.
Okay.
Ankh is an excellent game. It could be potentially one of his best. I gotta play it some more, and having the physical game with all the Kickstarter's extras will really help. That's one flaw I think I found in with Eric Lang, though, is he is Kickstarter heavy. Some of his games, if you don't have the Kickstarter version, it's not quite as enjoyable. Rising Sun was bad for that. The Kickstarter game was awesome, phenomenal game. 10 out of 10 for me, with all the Kickstarters. The base game, without all the Kickstarter stuff, probably a 9. So it's still a great game. It just doesn't give that, that extra step up. The replayability is a little bit more limited.
I will say that I think the Blood Rage, if you just got the base game of Blood Rage, I think it's good.
True. He wasn't so heavy into Kickstarter at that point.
It's pretty well balanced. It's really nice. If you did get Blood Rage, the only other thing I think would be worth it is the 5-player expansion, which is not a Kickstarter exclusive.
Okay.
The Gods expansion, I didn't really like, and I don't even know in the digital version if I even saw where you could add the Gods in. I just saw where you got the Kickstarter monsters. I didn't see where you actually can put the Gods in.
Yeah, no, I think you just got, like you said, I think you just got the monsters. So
yeah, the Gods are just weird. It's just they go down in a certain region and they change the rules in that one region.
No, I got the Gods with the digital Kickstarter.
Okay, I don't know how to turn them on or off when we do multiplayer.
Oh, you're talking in the digital game. So no, not in the digital. Never mind.
It's fine. I didn't like that expansion. In the Rising Sun, I didn't back the entire thing. I didn't get the one Luck God expansion, and now I can't get, so now I'm sad.
Yep. And Ankh will be available, hopefully, in theory, May 2021.
It's probably going to be July of next year.
Probably. For Kickstarter, though, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
I was gonna say that's not, within a year, that's not too bad.
They're normally 2 or 3 months off. But yeah.
Simon, the games are usually pretty much done by the time they go Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always true.
Now, I do want to play Ankh again because they just re-released the prototype rules and they've updated them. And that one rule that we didn't use because we couldn't figure it out, which is obelisk attuned, was apparently super overpowered. So basically that meant that you could move any of your things anywhere where there's an obelisk. So
yeah, we didn't use it because it didn't seem like it was right.
Yeah, now if you're obelisk attuned, you get to move one unit, one extra space or something like that for every obelisk you have. It's a lot less. And then the other one where Dan crushed the game on, which was the one where you get devotion every round.
Yeah.
As that was eliminated too.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting with those adjustments to give it another go and see how that feels if it's a little bit more balanced.
And people are still fighting over, I think it's not Osiris, the one Nathan played.
ISIS.
They're still fighting over ISIS of what the ruling is for that. Half the people the Kickstarter seems to say that ISIS has to be in the same region.
Okay.
In the Kickstarter comments, but it's not official.
Yeah.
So, in the rules, you could interpret it. I could argue either way 100%. It's like I could argue that it has to be in the same region as ISIS because it's talking about ISIS, but I could also argue that it doesn't because ISIS isn't named in it. So, yeah, they got some clarification, but I think we should play it again.
And that's another good thing about Eric Lang and Simon is they do play test these things to death outside of their digital version.
Yeah. and if they miss it by the time it comes out, they'll have an errata.
Yeah.
Or not an errata as much as like
FAQ.
A frequent FAQ. Yeah. So you'd be up for another game of Ankh?
Yeah, definitely up for another game of Ankh at some point, and looking forward to finally getting everybody together in one place and playing some physical board games as well.
I will say I'm super scared of painting those.
Yeah?
They are insanely detailed.
You just like too worried you're gonna ruin them.
Yeah, I'm not at that level. I mean, I make my game, when I paint, they are board game quality.
Gotcha.
So my thing is, like, if you are sitting at your chair and the piece is 2 feet away from you, does it look good?
Right.
That's the goal. Which I almost have all Mansions of Madness painted.
Oh, fantastic! That's a lot of. I was gonna say that's a lot of minis right there with all the expansions that you've got as well. So
yeah, next time we could play that, bring the immersion up a little bit.
Talking
Absolutely.
of tons of minis, I got World of Smog. I haven't got a chance to play it yet. I'm really just like loving looking at it at this point. There's so many beautiful minis.
You're gonna have to do a 4-hour unboxing.
Yeah, I got it with all the expansions. World of Smog's Rise of Moloch. Whatever. And it's I got 8 boxes with all the expansions, and it's tons and tons of minis. Really nice kind of a steampunk set, otherworldly steampunk aesthetic, and it looks really awesome. So I'm excited to try that.
So Peter, what have you been playing?
I was gonna say, so something else that I've been doing and playing. A buddy of mine has been getting on Tabletop Simulator with me, and we are going through the Star Wars Imperial Assault campaign. And so I think we're doing the whatever like this base campaign would be. And we are, I want to say, 5 sessions in so far, 4 or 5 sessions in. And it's been good. I like it a lot. If you like just more or less, I guess it's like just a strategic battle game. You're just going to get your minis on the board, and you get your couple paragraphs of your scenario, and then you are moving your minis around the board, rolling a bunch of dice, and doing your best not to die, which I'm not doing that good at so far. And I guess you don't die because, you get wounded, and then if you end up losing, then he just reads a couple paragraphs about how I run away, brave Sir Robin ran away, and then live to tell the tale. But you just don't get all the great rewards that you might have gotten if you had won. Like I said, I think we were almost done with our 5th session actually, and we had to call it quits a little early because that game was going super long, and that is something else I'm noticing. Each adventure is taking a little bit longer time. They just keep stretching out. And I won the first 2. I lost the 2 after that, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose this 5th one as well, which is a little disappointing, but it's tough. So we're playing it 2-player, which means I've got 2 adventurers, 2 heroes, but they have like some slightly buffed stats. Because if we were playing with multiple people running multiple adventures or heroes, then I guess you have lower health and no legendary stats or something. But with the two-player game, I'm playing 2 characters and they have legendary stats. But it just doesn't seem quite enough. But I am learning as I'm trying not to spoil the campaign for myself. I'm watching some videos about the strategy of the game, and from my understanding is the heroes just need to run as quickly as possible to complete the mission, and then run away as quickly as possible and not die. If you decide that you're going to actually try to fight it out with the Empire, you're probably going to lose, because the way that game works, the action economy of the game, at the end of every round, the threat builds, and the person running the Empire can spend the threat count to bring in more bad guys. So at the end of every round, there's the possibility of more bad guys being put onto the table, and very quickly you definitely start to feel like the rebels in Star Wars, that you are vastly outnumbered and outgunned, and if you win, it's going to be by the skin of your teeth and luck. So far, the Force has not been strong with this one.
Yeah, I know it's built that way. I do like how they streamline the rules between that and Descent 2nd Edition, but I feel that Descent 2nd Edition is better balanced between the Overlord and the players. In Descent 2nd Edition, it actually seems like it felt like a 50-50 thing. It's probably more like a 60-40, where the heroes have like a 60% chance of winning and the Overlords are, but it seems really well balanced. I know when I played Descent the 1st edition, I never won as the Overlord ever.
Oh, okay. So there's like no balance to it.
Yes. Well, I think the gearing of Descent was more to be like a RPG in a box, where you got the experience where you're not really trying to kill the other players. You're just supposed to make them have an experience.
Okay.
So,
but second edition, there's a little bit more where you as the Overlord, you're out to win a little bit.
Yes. And Descent second edition it did the cool thing. Like I wish first edition had a little more. First edition had a story in it, but second edition really has a story, and you can add to it and stuff while you go. But it definitely has, either way it goes, and has branching narrative. So depending on whether you win or lose, it branches different paths you can take. So when you finish a campaign, you could actually play the same campaign again and not have the same ending or the same scenario.
Yeah,
you have the same first one. Cool.
Right. And I guess I'm getting the same kind of feel with the Star Wars Imperial Assault, where depending on which heroes you're playing as, you might choose to do some different side missions, which has a little bit more of the flavor of the characters there, which I think is fantastic. I was able to I'm playing with the female Jedi. I can't remember her name right now. And so I got to do the one session where she's trying to redeem herself in the eyes of her dead Jedi Master, and she, like, by winning, gains his old lightsaber, which was really awesome and fantastic. And again, it felt like I was really in the Star Wars universe, which I think is fantastic. That's definitely something that I do like about the game, is that it draws you in, and you do feel like you were participating in that universe and not just some generic sci-fi place. It is definitely very Star Wars. And so I do like that a lot about it. But yeah, so far the balancing seems to be leaning heavier to the Empire side. And I'll be interested to see at the end of the campaign exactly what is the percentage of Rebel win versus Empire win. So we'll see. I'm liking it enough that I want to keep going. So each week I'm getting about another session in, and I think it's got maybe 10 to 14 sessions for the campaign. I can't remember exactly how many my friend said it was going to be, but we're on our way, and I'm enjoying that. So that's one of the things I've been playing, and we already talked about, been playing on digital, been playing Blood Rage. I got in a few games of Carcassonne just because I hadn't played that in forever and had the digital version, so I played a little bit of that. And then I've been playing with another friend and my wife, and we've been playing the digital version of Takedo on Board Game Arena, which I really enjoy that. I like the again, another kind of one of those calm games, and it's kind of my demeanor anyways. I'm not always in the hack and slash mood, but that one's kind of fun because you feel like you get a little body checking in with Takedo as you start to realize what other people want to do, and you're like, I'm gonna stop in at that inn and slow you down, or at the I can't remember the name of the places, but yeah, so you just stop in and you kind of block them from getting the pieces that they need. Can be kind of fun. So those are some of the digital games that I've been playing.
Yeah, inns and hot springs and things like that.
Yeah, but you could bathe with Monkey.
Found the guy took going linear too literally. Linear game.
Well, the board's a rondel, so it's like if you played Patchwork, or if you played Cottage Garden or any of those, you can go as far as you want, but you have less action.
Right.
So it depends on what you want to do. And if someone jumps way far ahead of you, you can just go like, I'm going here, everywhere in between until I get.
Yeah. I got to do that a couple times, and it's like, yeah, this is nice. I get to play. I get to play again. I get to play again. But yeah, so it's an interesting game that I have been enjoying. And but have you guys had any other like digital games that you've been playing, or has it mostly been like some physical ones that you've been playing? What about you, Nathan?
Well, yeah, I mean, we should talk about, there's viewers that are, or listeners that have just been listening to the podcast and aren't aware of all the stuff we've been putting up on YouTube. We have been doing a lot of playthroughs. One of the ones that I enjoyed most was Glory to Rome. Glory to Rome, if you haven't heard of it, it's a really hard game to find. It's a fairly rare game. It's a no-holds-barred card game. Basically, it's you building these combos that can go crazy, and it's called, people say it's unbalanced. Yeah, it is. You got these really, really over-top combos, but you have to work to build them up. There is I win cards. it's a lot of people compare it to like Cosmic Encounter. If you played that, it's, things can go really wild and, in a fun way. It doesn't feel like you don't really care too much if you won in this game. You're just having fun with the craziness.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love Glory to Rome. I think since it's never going to be in print again, I think I'm going to that print and play and print it out and get sleeves and stuff and make it look real cool. Either that or I'll just have to have Dan part with it somehow.
Yeah, I also really have enjoyed it now. That I think the last time we played was my third time playing through Glory to Rome. And each time, very, very enjoyable game. And it's one of the first games I think that I had ever played where the cards themselves have so many different functions. And so the first time playing it, yeah, it was like I felt so utterly lost trying to understand how each card could be so many different things and figuring out how to utilize them best. But I feel like I'm getting the handle of it, and that is a game that I would play at the drop of a hat at this point. And again, like you guys said, it's kind of sad that I probably won't get a chance to play it in a physical edition unless Dan ever brings it. And at this point, James, I think, is making it less and less likely that Dan's ever going to bring it around us. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And again, it blows my mind the way that people who create these games, the way that they must have to think through everything, because game playing is definitely something that I will continue to do forever. Game design just seems to be so far beyond anything that I would ever think of doing myself. But I think it would be really interesting to continue like looking up, trying to find videos with interviews with game designers, just because I want to understand. I want to understand that creativity. I want to understand what it is that they had to go through to create that game. So I like stuff like that.
I think if we ever stop making this podcast, it'll be because, Dan brought Glory to Rome over. We got rid of him to get the copy, and we fought each other over who got the copy.
Oh, man.
I'm just saying I would win.
Oh.
You know what they say, when you're older and slower, you win.
That's the way they say it.
That's the
Okay.
saying, yeah, that's the saying. Okay. Don't look it up, but that's how they
Physical games. So obviously we are still in a scenario in our world where get-togethers are smaller and people are spacing out from each other. But I was able to get together with a friend of mine the other day, and I was able to introduce him to a couple board games that he had not played. He had played one of them in the kids version. He has a couple young children, and so he introduced his daughter to My First Castle Panic. But he really wanted to play the adult version, and he hadn't had a chance yet, so we busted that out, and he and me and our wives played the game together, and we had a really good time. And then after that, we got to play Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is absolutely one of my most favorite games. And he enjoyed that well enough that the next day he texted me and said he had gone out and picked up his physical copy of the game as well. So again, a lot of fun. I'm sure there are definitely people out there who Betrayal is not up their alley, but that is a game that I will, again, play at the drop of a hat. I love the mix of RPG light that Betrayal is, but the theming of it is just so strong. And I love that each time I play it, more than likely it's going to be a different scenario than I've ever played before, seeing as there are 100 scenarios if you have the expansion. And so I think I've only ever played one scenario twice. Every other time I've played that game, it ended up randomly being a different scenario. And some of them are not as great as others, but each one is going to be interesting for sure. So I was excited to finally get to introduce him to that game.
Did you ever finish Betrayal Legacy?
We did finish Betrayal Legacy, and that's another one. I'm excited that Betrayal Legacy, when you're done, you can still play it again and again. That's, there's no problem. You've built your own board that's going to be slightly different than anyone else's Betrayal Legacy board. But I enjoyed that game so much so that I would probably pay $70 again to just buy it brand new and play it with a different group. the campaign, though the campaign would end up being, again, the same one that I had just played, I would play through that same story again just to watch the reaction that the other players would have when certain things happen. I enjoyed it that much. I thought it was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, we finished it, and I don't know, it didn't really take us all that long because we kept wanting to play, and there's 14 sessions, I think 14 or 15 sessions by the end of it, but we made our way through it pretty quickly, and it's definitely high up on my list of ones that I would recommend. If you enjoy legacy games, I would say definitely get around to it at some time.
Yeah. Did you see they're coming out with a Pandemic Legacy Season 0?
You guys are gonna have to tell me about the Pandemic Legacies, because I've never played the Legacies. I've only ever played Pandemic.
Okay. So if you played Pandemic, in Pandemic Season 1, you got the mechanics. That is the mechanic. But what it does is out at the end of every game except for, I believe, the first, you will change the board. So you make it easier or harder on yourself each campaign or each session. So what happens is, well, I don't want to give anything away, but it is very intense game. You have a lot of stuff that happens in the game. It's somewhat predictable, but it gets harder and harder, and depending on how you played, will greatly impact like your starting of each next level. So I think it's really good. I'm not really doing a good justice to it, but Pandemic Season 1 is big pandemic mechanisms, and Pandemic Season 2 is like reverse of Pandemic.
Yeah, so I saw the trailer of Season 0, so I think it's interesting that they're doing a prequel to a legacy game. What do you think? I mean, I know it seems right now where it's very little information that's available out there for it. What do you think they're going to be doing to really make it a prequel, I guess?
Well, I think that they're going to do... So when the first one starts, I don't know. I really don't know, because on the first one, the diseases are coming in. Mm-hmm. So this is before... This leads you up to Pandemic Season 2. And Pandemic Season 2, I don't know what they would do with the Season 3, because I know the ending of that one. So the prequel, I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was a little surprised with it being a prequel, I guess, just because I was assuming Season 1 would start with the viruses or the pandemic happening.
Yeah.
And so how do you have a game that leads up to that? So I'll be interested to hear more about it. Is that going to be one that is that going to be a Kickstarter, or is that just one that's just coming out?
I'm pretty sure it's just coming out. I could be wrong. I mean, there's very little detail on it. But
okay.
I don't see where it would be a Kickstarter game. I
okay,
don't see
cool, because they've got such a base of people who play those games already. They come out with lots of them. I would have been surprised as well. But I don't, again, being newer to the board game industry, how common is it for board games nowadays to have trailers? Was that a Kickstarter thing that started that, and now other games, even though they're not going to be Kickstarter, they're like, no, we need to have a trailer just to advertise? Or have they always been advertised in that way?
No, not a lot of people have had trailers. I know Kickstarter, they'll do it too, to get hyped, to get people over to it. And I know Magic the Gathering has started doing a ton of trailers. I mean, they used to in the past, but they're doing it a lot now. So maybe it's getting to that point, since it's getting easier for these people to do those things. I was wondering if it was more just because the technology is so much easier to use to create trailers and things, or if it was more of like, we need to create these so that we can compete against video games and the Kickstarters, to build the hype anymore. It's such a digital market to advertise. And like you said, it's easier nowadays. It's probably even cheaper nowadays to create these really well done, beautiful looking trailers that it's kind of a no-brainer at this point. They're like, we kind of have to do that to really sell our game. But are you seeing many games today doing that, or is it still a fairly new phenomena for board games to be having trailers?
Well, I would say that it is a fairly new. The industry, I think, is just getting to that point where there's enough demand for it and enough money in some of these bigger games that to justify the expense of doing advertising and all the expenses that goes with that. And I think about a little over a year ago is when I first started seeing, I'm watching YouTube, and suddenly a commercial comes onto one of the ads come on commercial, and there's a board game ad. And even on like Netflix, I've had a couple come up in regular TV. So they're actually starting to do advertising, worldwide and commercially to everyone, just not like specifically only to gamers anymore.
That and social media is really becoming the thing for advertising for board games. So I think it's pretty effective just to have like short videos that they can burst on there. And
yeah,
I think it'll still be a while before you'll see a lot of really board game ads on anything. But outside of that, so I don't think you're going to see it on like cable TV much.
I mean, hobby gaming is just getting to that point where it's starting to be acknowledged by the mainstream. There's been, I guess there was a couple that showed up on what's the name of that show with all the women in it?
The View?
Oh, yes, that's the one. And so I was like, yeah, it's actually getting into the regular news as well, and there's more and more news stories every day about board gaming as a hobby, and like people are just starting to realize this exists, even though we've known it for years.
So one of the ones I was looking up there, just to make sure, I was Our Family Plays Games, which I really like their YouTube videos, and they have a good Instagram feed and everything like that. They were on Good Morning America.
That's the one I was thinking.
Not The View?
Not The View.
Okay.
Not the one with all the women.
That's totally not getting cut out. I'm going to leave that in there. It was Good Morning America, and it's Our Family Plays Games. You should check them out. They're really good.
Yeah, they've got a great YouTube channel.
Yeah, they got a great YouTube channel. They're great people. I'm glad that they got on Good Morning America. They did great. It was great for coverage for board games and great coverage for everything. So, yeah, definitely check them out. Not on The View.
Yeah, not on The View. Good Morning America. So a couple other physical board game, card game things that I've played recently for the first time. My wife and I dove into The Fox and the Forest. So again, not super new. It's a couple years old, but new for us. Really enjoyed that as a two-player trick-taking game, and with some very different mechanics where you don't want to win too much in that one. It's got a fairy tale theme, and as you're playing, there are drawbacks to if you get too greedy and if you win too much at the end of the round, you will actually get a lower score. So there's some strategy in trying to figure out what the other person is probably planning on playing, and figuring out how often you want to make sure that you lose the hand so that at the end of the round you have not won too many or lost too many. You kind of want to find this nice middle ground, which is just very interesting. I have not played probably a game with that kind of strategy. Most trick-taking games is I just want to win everything. I want to win all the hands, and so that was a very interesting game. And then I have a friend who has really gotten into Hero Realms, and so I went ahead and picked up a box for Hero Realms and have played that just once so far. But I enjoyed it. Had a good time. We were able to actually play it over a video call. So we just had like one of us laid out the market, and then the other person told them what it was, and they laid out the same cards, and so we were able to figure out a way to play that over a video call, which was a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the creativity that people have had to make gaming happen in various ways. So those are some of the other games that I've been playing with the actual physical tactile game itself. But beyond just games, guys, I've been doing other things. I've been reading a little bit, and I've been watching some TV, and I know that it doesn't have as much to do with our podcast, but I'll just put it out there. I've been reading Guards by Terry Pratchett, one of his Discworld novels, and I've been reading a book by Tom Shippey about Tolkien being the author of the century. So those are all both older books at this point in time. But I've been reading some books as well, and I find that those also get my creative juices flowing. So I enjoy diving into a good book. I'm a librarian. I'm a librarian. I got to plug books too.
Been reading non-stop instruction manuals. That does not get your creative juices flowing.
as a librarian, you'd probably enjoy this game that I've been playing. It's X-Libris.
I have heard of X-Libris. How is it?
It's a really fun light game. It's basically an X-Libris. You're basically trying to build a nice library, and you have to build it in 3 levels that you can build in. But when you place a card, you can only place cards, to the left or right or above existing cards. And you're trying to place them in a way that they're alphabetical, but also you have to keep in mind what genre of books you're placing, because you score based on, whether you meet the preferred book genres and whether you have your secret objective genre that you're trying to score. So you want to make sure you're getting the right genres. There's one type of genre that's banned. You want to avoid getting those. But then you also get points for the book category that you have the least of, except for excluding the banned one. Then you have to also factor in, okay, any books that are out of alphabetic order at the end when you're counting up your scores, those aren't counted. So there's a nice, there's a fair amount of strategy to it, but it's for a light game.
How many players is that?
I believe it's 2 to 4.
Okay.
1 to 4.
Wonderful.
I don't know how the one would work very well, but
okay.
Yeah, it's a nice light, fast. It plays in. This says 45 minutes here, but I think we played it in about 30.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Yeah, I like a nice short game every once in a while.
Well, I can tell you a game that's the exact opposite of that. I've been playing a couple older games. One of them is a rare game called Demarker. Now, Demarker, unless I'm mistaken, this was the first game ever to be posted on BGG. So that gives you a sense of how old it is. It had a reprint, I believe, in 1986. So yeah. Now Demarker, it's got a dry theme. It's basically you are a German politician going through the German political system and trying to get votes. And you do this by, making your political views match what the political views of the region are. So you're constantly changing your views on things to match better what your voters are to get votes. You're also buying opinion polls and deciding whether to publish these opinions based on whether they favor you or not. So it's a little bit cynical.
Interesting.
But yeah, this is a game. This is an extremely meaty game. You can tell it's an older game. Because there's like 15 steps to a turn, and none of them are simple steps. So it's a meaty game that you have to, go through an entire turn, which could take you up to an hour to go through one turn.
Oh gosh.
And then you got an idea what you're doing.
No part of that sounds good. It just sounds awful. Sounds like an awful, awful game.
I would call this an extremely interesting game.
Interesting.
Yeah,
he didn't say fun. He didn't say exciting. It's just incredibly interesting.
That's what nice people say when things are awful. Incredibly interesting. No, you're just saying it's awful. I understand.
No, I don't think I could really call this an exciting game. That'd be a stretch. But there's a lot of meat to this. So if you're looking for a Euro player, this can work. This is a game that you can really put a lot of thought into what you're doing, but you have to be prepared for a 4-hour game.
Okay. So it's like a 13-pound hamburger. It starts out good, and then you just get sick.
But I still managed to play this twice in one day.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Okay.
I don't know.
I was gonna say if I've got that much time to play a game, I'm gonna over to James and we're gonna play Twilight Imperium for it.
Yes, we are. That'd be awesome.
No, yeah. I mean, I like this as a part of board game history and an interesting thing to play every once in a long while.
Gotcha. Well, so something I thought would be interesting is, so we're talking about the games that we've been playing, but of the games that are out there and available right now, if you could right now play one, what game would you play? Like a game that you've not played before, but you're like, there's a game out there right now. I really, really want to play it. What is your, I would play it right now game?
Well, right before I say what one would be for me, did you know they came out with a Dune expansion?
Yes. Is it released yet? They've been talking. They announced it last year that it was coming out, but it hasn't been released yet. Like the release date has been pushed back, I think, a couple times.
I'm not seeing it as.
I've not seen a date
Available yet.
Yeah, I've not seen a date announced yet. But yes, I do know that it's coming out. It's only a $20 expansion, so it's not too bad. It's going to add 2 new factions into the game, so I will definitely be picking that up when it comes out.
So mine is a game Nathan's going to bring with when he comes over, and it's Mezzo. I have wanted to play Mezzo for so long.
Yeah? What's Mezzo about?
So Mezzo is a area control style game where you're playing in ancient Aztec gods, and you are the gods in Mezzo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you are the gods in Mezzo, and you're using your worshippers and stuff to try to claim the different areas and win. I don't know too much about the mechanics beyond that because I haven't played it yet, but I know when it was on Kickstarter, I was super excited about it. Nathan backed it.
Yep. Just lower your expectations.
Aww.
That's just what you want to hear. You're like, oh, I got this game I really, really want to play. And everyone's like, scale it
Lowered
back.
expectations.
Just take that enthusiasm and scale it back a little bit.
Amazing minis. Amazing. Some of the best minis I've seen.
Okay.
So, even though this is a podcast and nobody but you guys can see, but
that's a really cool mini.
But it's a game that's really subject to people being picking on each other and not necessarily knowing who's winning, so just picking on the people that they're not happy with at the moment.
Oh, this sounds perfect for us.
So yeah, and then that in my game group, that's me. I get picked on the whole time, and still somehow it's win.
Oh, it's actually a Mayan mythology.
Yes.
So slightly different, which is cool because there are some cool gods in that. Those miniatures look phenomenal. Sort of sad that didn't like it. It has an average community rating of 5.7, but BGG's rating is 7.5, which is not bad.
Yeah. But, well, again, you can't make your decision based on other people's thoughts. You'll have to play it yourself, and then you have to let us know what you think.
I'll end up just playing with the miniatures in the corner and be like, yee.
Nathan, what about you?
I have one that I should hopefully be able to play soon, and that's Food Chain Magnet.
Oh, yeah. So I have Food Chain Magnet, and that's one of the games we're going to play when it gets here.
Nice. Now, what's Food Chain Magnet? I don't know that one.
So, go ahead.
Pretty much what it says it is.
Yeah.
It's a meaty Euro. You're managing a food chain. You're, I believe you're adding things to your menu and deciding what the quality of the things on your menu are, as well as what the price, and trying to compete whether you have cheaper one or the higher quality one, and just drawing a limited market share.
Yes. So think of it this way. So basically, what you're doing is you have a neighborhood, right? So in the neighborhood, you can build restaurants. You can place billboards up and do advertising to try to get people into getting your burgers or your lemonade or your beer. And basically, what you're trying to do is balance all that out with all these different neighborhoods, and your opponents are trying to do the same, and you have variable costs for everything based on demand and stuff. There's a lot to the game, and they keep saying it's like for 2 to 5 serious gamers for 2 to 4 hours. You gotta be serious to play, and they're always like, it's a gamer's game. Well, I will say that to play it and get it, you probably would need to play some hobby games, but I don't think it's like super crazy hard. Okay. I think it's pretty easy to teach the rules.
But that is a long game. Is 2 to 4 hours probably correct?
Yeah, that's Terraforming Mars.
Okay.
Time. So yeah, 2 to 4 hours is I haven't played it yet, so I'm waiting for Nathan to get here. But yeah, 2 to 4 hours is probably right on, and it's probably going to be closer to 4 us.
I do hear it's also a very mean game as well. So we'll see.
Well, you're directly competing with other players for the market, so I would assume this would be horribly, because the only thing that offsets stuff is your opponents. So the only reason Peter couldn't sell his hamburgers is because I just plastered my billboard over top of his.
I see how it is. I see exactly how it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind mean when it makes sense. and when it's, you're being mean to the person who, directly competing with you.
Yeah,
You're
sure.
just,
Right.
not inadvertently mean just because I happen to be doing this and it happens to hurt you.
So, Peter, what game are you looking forward to playing?
So a game that I would really like to play is the newer 2-player game Watergate.
Ah, yes.
I have heard really great things about it. The playtime is, they're saying it's only 30 to 60 minutes, which is definitely more up my alley. I mean, I don't mind a long game. I played Dungeons and Dragons where we sit down and play for like 4-hour sessions at the drop of a hat, so that's no problem. But I also like games that are 2-player that are kind of quicker, and so a game that's 30 to 60 minutes I feel like is more up my alley because I can play that easier. But Watergate just sounds really interesting. It's a period of American history that I don't really know all that well, but with the theme or with the idea of the game being that one person's going to be playing Nixon and then the other person's going to be playing the press, as both groups are trying to like come out on top of this big huge political scandal. I think it's fun that it's based in American history, and I just think that would be a lot of fun. So I've got one specific friend in mind who also is very into like political things, and so I think this game would be right up his alley as well. So I want to pick it up and eventually schedule a time for the two of us to get a chance to play it together. But yeah, that is the game that right now, if I could have it and sit down and be playing a game, that's probably the one.
Yeah, and does look like a very interesting game. I watched a little playthrough it. It did win best 2-player game from Dice Tower and from BGG.
So I'll say Watergate looks like an awesome game, and I will say that it has a really good rating. I'll say if you end up liking Watergate, you like the theme and the fact that it has like a little historical context to it, you really need to play Twilight Struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard this from the friend that I want to play Watergate with. He loves Twilight Struggle, and so I've got him and one other friend that both have been wanting me to get around to playing Twilight Struggle. I have the digital version on Steam, and so hopefully eventually we'll get around to playing it on there, if not also in person with one of those two, because I have heard really good things about it. And have you both of you played Twilight Struggle before?
Nathan has.
I played Twilight Struggle. I would say there's probably, I haven't played Watergate yet. It looks like there's going to be a significant weight difference. I think Twilight Struggle is the more complex of the two, and Watergate seems like it should be relatively easy to pick up.
Yeah, my
my
understanding of Twilight Struggle is it's a much meatier game than Watergate is.
Yeah.
So they have about the same idea, so if you do Watergate, the next step up would be Twilight Struggle.
Okay, that makes sense.
For complexity. Yeah. So you can get the idea of the game through Watergate, and then jump into Twilight Struggle. Probably play Watergate a couple times.
That's what I'm hoping. Again, with it being just a 30 to 60 minute game, you can sit down, play that, get a feel for it, reset, and play it again.
Yeah, you used to swap roles. Like if you were Washington Post, you should have the other guy. You should be Nixon next.
Yeah, exactly, and just switch it up. And I like a game that is short enough that it's not like I'm going to play it once and then I won't get a chance to play it again for another 2 weeks. Then I got to remember the rules again. This should be short enough that I can play it two to three times in an evening and really feel like I'm getting to know the game right out the gate.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing that they've said about Twilight Struggle that probably applies to Watergate. Is a lot of people say you have to really know all the cards before you can really play it. But I don't entirely agree with that, because it can be, as long as neither of you know the cards and you both know that there's like these really powerful cards that can really swing the game, it can be fun just finding out what's in the deck.
And if you know a little history too.
Yeah. Where it can be an issue is if one player has played it a lot and knows all the cards, the other player's not going to have a chance. Okay, I do have a couple other games I've played. Hopefully I don't put you guys to sleep with these heavy games, though.
No, I like hearing about stuff. What's out there.
I played Steam, which is another old railroad game. This is, it's not as old as, Democker, but it's super complex, mapping out what you want to do, planning everything, and laying out these rails. There's two different versions of this game. There's the the really basic version, which is complex in itself. We played that a few times where you're just you're taking turns buying rails, and you actually start with no money in this game, and you have to constantly go in debt to be able to pay for anything. And you're building these rails, delivering goods, and the goods are extremely finite. By the end of the game, there's not going to be any goods. So in the basic game, I found the game was really tight. We had a game. It's like my dad won. He got like 75 points, and myself and my mother got 73 points each. So really, you couldn't get much closer than that. However, when we played the standard game, I found that really, really interesting in that not only do you not start with any money and you're going to debt to pay for things, but you have to, before you even start your turn, figure out how much you're going to spend that turn and go into debt, and you can't get any more money for that turn. It really changes up the game, makes it really more complex, really heavy thinking. So this is not a game I would suggest for everybody. In fact, I won so badly, I don't think my parents are going to play this again. I think I laughed them.
That's like my type of game. I like it. I like the idea, though, because, realistically, you would have took out a loan, probably, to be able to pay for these things. So the first part you do is you take out a loan to pay for them.
Yeah, and you don't want to take too much. You really, really have to plan perfectly. It's really stressful at times, It does have a weird thing in it that you're rewarded for being efficient in the way you deliver things, because when you deliver cubes, it's based on how far you travel. So if you redirect your route all over the place to get to where you're going, you get more points.
So you get points for being inefficient.
Yeah. So that I thought was a little weird. Other than that, this is a strong game if you want something that's you're gonna spend the day with and really use your brain.
But we're going to get there too soon. We're going to take the train and do a serpentine. Do the serpentine. We're just going to go down this track and then this track. We'll get more money that way because everyone likes late goods.
Let's go to something a little lighter. I did play Sonar for the first time.
Boo.
So if you don't know, Sonar is the 2-player version of 2 to 4 player version of Captain Sonar, which we played it a couple of times. Probably won't play it again. I love Captain Sonar as a concept. It sounds like a lot of fun. And it somewhat works. There gets a point if you kind of lose track of where your opponent is. It's really hard to get it back and figure it out again. So you can have a large section of the games where everybody's getting frustrated because nobody knows where anybody is.
Well, the key to Captain Sonar is have your team be really loud so the other team can't hear, and you win the game. Because you have to... So in Captain Sonar, it's best played with 6 players, I believe. I think that's the max count. Or is it 8? It's been a little while.
That's 8 a lot of players.
And there's 4 players on each team, and... the captain sends down orders, and then each of those people have to say relay back before they can do things. So we found the most effective route is if we're just really loud. The other players can't hear each other, so we just end up winning. Because all we have to do is listen for when they say what direction they're going, and then you can figure it out from the map, because there's you get this old gridded map, and then there's islands and stuff. So if you say left, right, left, right, I can take that, and I have a clear paper that I drew that on, and I can run along the map to see where that could possibly actually fit. And then if you know their location and you're close enough, you can fire a torpedo at them. And the other thing with Captain Sonar and with Sonar is once the person's hit, there's not a whole heck of a lot they can do.
Yeah. The biggest complaint that I've heard about this, and it seems to make sense, is Captain Sonar is really only playable with 8. There's options for playing with less, but they don't seem like anywhere near as good. Sonar seems like they tried to make it playable with 4. Supposedly with 2. I would never play it with 2. But yeah, it seems like they lose a lot by trying to make it playable by 4.
Yeah, Captain Sonar, the only way I'll ever play it is to be turn-based. there's a turn-based rule instead of the real-time rule, and I would only ever play it turn-based. I will never play with anyone that wants real-time.
It seems to completely defeat the purpose of the game. All of you doing.
Well, it still turns it into like a better version of Battleship on the turn-based.
It's not saying much.
It's yeah, I guess, but
8 players just seems like a heck of a lot of players.
It's a lot of players, and they all have to want to play it.
Yeah.
So, and if I have 8 players, I have other games that people like playing, like 7 Wonders with 8 players is really good.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm not sure that I've ever played.
You have to have expansions.
A game. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just not sure that I've ever played a game with that many players, other than just like a party game.
Oh, wait until Nathan comes and we all get together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one other thing I've played that I could just say don't play this game is Planes. Planes is pretty much just a straightforward Mancala. You do have cards that can slightly modify what you do, but basically it's you pick up 4 cubes, you move it you move it as many spaces you want, but you have to drop 1 cube each space you drop, and you're trying to get to an objective without going past. That's it. That's the entire game. There's not much to it, and it's the typical Mancala issue of you cannot plan your turn until it is your turn. You cannot plan ahead at all.
Yeah.
But that's enough of the negative stuff. Non-board game related, really excited that Critical Role is back on.
I was going to say they hit a huge viewer count this last Thursday when they went live again. I heard it was a little over 100,000 people tuned in.
Yeah, fortunately I couldn't watch it then. I just started watching it a little bit today now that they posted it on YouTube.
Okay.
So no spoilers, please.
Oh, no, it's okay. I actually, as much as I love D&D, I have not actually. I think I've maybe listened to 1 or 2 episodes of Critical Role, and that would have been in the first series. I always. It's a little too long for me. 4 hours of listening to it. And they usually lose me 20 minutes in when they're still doing their introductions for their episodes. Like I've not been able to dive into that for very long. I've only got maybe one D&D show that is that long that I will sometimes catch, but Critical Role is not that. But they're fantastic. I mean, they do a great job. Matt Mercer is awesome. So I've seen other things that their group has done. And I'm still looking forward to the one day that they finally get their animated show together.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to getting to see D&D style adventures visually. I think that's going to be a blast. And again, their team, I mean, they're all voice actors. Their team is so creative, and there's a big community around them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what plays out from all of that. But again, like I said, just haven't really. So I can't spoil anything for you because I have no idea what's going on at all.
They did get up to a 2-season commitment. So originally they were only 1 season. That I think it actually started with 8 episodes, and now it's 2 whole seasons that they're looking at doing.
That's awesome. That's great because again, there's a lot of other really great animated stuff out there that's in that fantasy genre that's been hitting out there. She-Ra just wrapped up on Netflix for its run, and for anybody out there who watches the animated stuff, She-Ra was fantastic. And then Dragon Prince is also out there right now on Netflix, and it's another really good animated show if you enjoy the fantasy genre. So we'll see. I'm assuming Critical Role is going to get to be a little bit more adult and grittier than those 2 shows were. So it'll be interesting to see a show that gets to be a little bit more for a slightly more mature audience, age-wise, I guess. But both of those shows were really good as well.
Well, yeah, Critical Role is a commitment. There's a lot of many hours. But while you're reading a rule book, something you could have watching of it, or while you're at work pretending to work.
I was gonna say that's my problem. I am one of those people that I cannot multitask. If I'm watching something, I'm gonna watch it. So it's hard for me to, if I'm gonna be reading a rule book all of a sudden, I'm gonna miss everything that's happening off on the other thing. So
yeah, I just listen to Pandora.
Exactly. I can do music.
Now, I will say, Dragon Prince, awesome show.
Oh, have you? Yeah, you watched it as well? Sweet.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I don't know if they're supposed to come out. They pretty much wrapped it up, but I don't know if they're coming out with another season or not. I think they are.
They are definitely talking about a fourth season because they did a really good job of wrapping most of the story up at the end of that last season.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some stuff that was left hanging that I definitely know that I want answers to. So I'm hoping that they'll continue it. But even if they didn't, it had a very satisfying end.
Yeah, and they did that dun 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 at the very end too. So
yeah, they did.
It could be there. But also,
I've never actually heard of this before.
It's really, really good. If you've watched Avatar, the series, have you seen that? Oh my God, that one's so
episode.
Good. The one voice actor that I like from Avatar is the main character in the Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
He's Sokka in Avatar.
Yeah. So yeah, looking forward to more Critical Role coming out. I'm sure, Nathan. So I'm again, the one show that I live action or the live role playing D&D that I watch has been on hiatus for quite some time at this point, and at this point also does not have a time that it's coming back, just because the company that is doing it is trying to fulfill a Kickstarter right now, and that is where all their attention is, which I totally understand because I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter getting wrapped up as well. So
which one is this?
So I follow MCDM, which is Matt Colville, his company that got kickstarted with the book Strongholds and Followers, and so they finished their campaign for their second book, Kingdoms and Warfare, and so in between those two books, those two Kickstarters, they started doing a live game that they were streaming called the group's name is The Chain, and they probably got like 35 to 40 episodes in, and then their second Kickstarter kicked off, and they've been really focused on that ever since, which again, like I said, totally understand, but they do a really good game. It's very different from Critical Role. Critical Role is definitely more, from what I understand, like the entertainment value of D&D, and they've got, again, all the voice actors. If you watch the MCDM, The Chain series, it is definitely more like you're just watching your buddies playing Dungeons and Dragons. That's all it is. They're sitting around the table, and I guess it feels more like you're just watching your own friends play the game rather than watching professional actors who kind of bring that creativity side of it as well. Not to say that Critical Role is not just people playing D&D, because it is, but I feel like they have an ability to bring a theatricality to it that not every group would have the opportunity to bring. So,
well, it was kind of interesting on their early episodes because they were, they're all voice actors, so they were learning how to do camera acting. Some of them.
Yep. So again, these are, I guess, some of the things that we've been up to and some of the things that we're looking forward to. And I don't know, James, anything else from you, man?
That sounds good. I just wanted to bring up that I really like Avatar, this series. They're bringing a live action Avatar on the Netflix.
I saw the trailer. Count me skeptical until I watched the first episode.
That trailer is not actually from it. They don't have a trailer.
That was the fake trailer?
Yeah. They don't, as far as I know, they don't actually have a trailer.
I was duped because I thought it was an official Netflix trailer.
As far as I know, they don't even have all the actors.
Oh, okay. Good to know. The trailer was how I even found out about it. So
this live action Avatar hopefully is not going to be like the movie, which was horrible. The original two directors from the Avatar are coming in to help with this one, and it's supposed to be supposedly verbatim of the animated one with extended stuff.
Okay.
So like each episode, I think in Avatar is like 30 minutes long or something like that, and just say the live action will be 1 hour, so they'll add 30 minutes to each episode.
Well, yeah. Talking about live action, the one I was a little more excited about was Cowboy Bebop, but who knows if it'll be good? You never know with live action.
Wait, they're gonna make a live action Cowboy Bebop?
Yes, they are. I don't know how they will do it, but that's the plan. I mean, that's a show known for the crazy, wild things that could not possibly happen in the real world.
Well, most of the episodes of Cowboy Bebop, I could see where they could just totally do it and not have a problem.
Yeah, there's some that are really out there.
Yeah, well, I liked it in Cowboy Bebop. like it's no spoiler to say that they die multiple times, and they just sort of just start off with them alive again. And like, okay.
It's been a while since I watched this.
So, like the refrigerator episode. Yeah.
I have never watched Cowboy Bebop.
It's definitely worth it. It's an older anime now at this point, so you have to put up with the older animations. But it is a fun show.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it over the years, but I just never actually sat down to watch it myself.
Yeah. It has a lot of...
That's exciting for...
Firefly. It has like a Firefly vibe to it at times.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully they show the original anime alongside it, so we can, I can watch the original first and then watch the... I don't know if that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. I just let it go and just watch it.
The other things exciting for old people like us is the new Bill and Ted movie. Again, not sure. It could be good. It could be great. It could be awful. Well, you have to see.
Either way, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it this way, the Bill and Ted movies were awful. I just liked them.
True.
So if this one's awful, I'll probably...
Yeah, and that's another one. It's like, even more so, it's like, do I really want to go back and watch the originals? Is it gonna be awful?
I will tell you from experience, don't go ever back and watch any of the original movies you liked when you were a kid.
Right.
See,
ever.
I totally disagree.
Ever.
I totally disagree.
Okay.
I go back and watch movies that I loved as a kid all the time because I can still see how terrible they are and still love them just as much.
I was trying to rewatch Ace Ventura. Oh, wow.
Oh.
This is not possible. I was at a certain place when I was a kid that was great. Now I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is wrong? This movie is horrible. Couldn't make it through it.
I was going to say, I can't say that was ever high up on my list of movies when I was younger anyways, so that would not be one I would go back to.
You don't.
I definitely have other movies that I will go back and watch, though. So
Ace Ventura was one that, like, even as a kid, I had trouble making it through some of it. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. And don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved.